It was one of those mornings when television studios across the country hummed with barely contained chaos. The bright studio lights of Howard Stern's SiriusXM broadcast cut through the dim dawn of New York City like surgical beams, illuminating every flaw, every twitch, every eyebrow raise that would later become fodder for headlines. On this day, Howard Stern was not merely interviewing a celebrity. He was about to spark a confrontation that would dominate tabloid columns, trending hashtags, and water cooler debates for weeks to come. The guest list that morning was unusual. On one hand, there were the usual media personalities, musicians, and actors, eager to showcase their latest projects or defend their latest controversies. On the other, there was Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex himself, whose recent memoir had rattled the British monarchy, stirred public opinion, and ignited a storm of gossip that even royal watchers found dizzying. The tension was palpable before the show even started. Stern, notorious for his abrasive interviewing style, had a reputation for taking no prisoners. His listeners loved it, the media dreaded it, and his guests often left either exhilarated or humiliated. When Harry stepped onto the set, the usual polite smiles and guarded nods were replaced with a flicker of uncertainty. Here was a man used to royal protocol, who had grown accustomed to carefully curated public appearances. But Stern was not a prince. He was not beholden to tradition, heritage, or the weight of the crown. Stern was chaos personified. The cameras rolled, and Stern wasted no time. "So, Prince Harry," he began, his voice smooth but sharp, "you've spent your life dodging the press, dodging the palace, and now you write a book telling everyone how hard your life has been. Really? Is it that hard to be a prince?" A faint ripple passed through the studio audience. Stern's crew stifled nervous chuckles. Harry's jaw tightened, and for a moment, he seemed unsure whether to smile politely or respond defensively. He had anticipated tough questions. After all, the British press had been merciless, but Stern's tone wasn't just challenging, it was mocking. Harry took a breath. "It's been complicated. My life has been under constant scrutiny. I've had to navigate family, public expectation, and personal struggle. That's not something most people can understand unless they've lived it." Stern leaned forward, elbows on the desk, his expression a mixture of amusement and disbelief. "So, let me get this straight," he said, lowering his voice conspiratorially. "You leave the royal family, complain about the media, then write a book, make millions off your struggles, and now you want sympathy from America. Do you actually think people are buying this sob story?" A ripple of laughter escaped the audience. Harry's hand tightened on the armrest, but he maintained composure. "It's not about sympathy. It's about sharing my story honestly. People need to know the truth behind what you see in headlines." Stern's laughter was sharp, almost predatory. "Oh, I see. The truth behind the headlines. That's rich. Because, of course, the palace never lies, right? The media never twists your words. You're the only honest one here, the one with the real insight." That's hilarious. By now, the atmosphere in the studio had shifted from tense politeness to electric confrontation. Stern thrived in this energy, feeding off the discomfort of his guest. He leaned back in his chair, folding his arms, and continued. "I mean, come on, Harry. You wore a uniform, got photographed waving from balconies, married a Hollywood actress, and now you're out here acting like you're some kind of martyr. You're mocking your own image. People are going to see right through it." Harry paused, choosing his next words carefully. He had anticipated criticism, but Stern's mocking tone was sharper than anything in recent interviews. "Howard," he said, his voice calm but firm, "I'm not asking for people to excuse me. I'm asking for them to understand that life under constant scrutiny is challenging. The decisions I've made, the sacrifices I've made, they were necessary for my family's well-being." Stern's smirk widened. "Challenging. Let me tell you something, buddy. You had a nanny, a palace, private jets, security detail, life under scrutiny. That's a different kind of scrutiny than the rest of us deal with. My listeners deal with losing jobs, paying rent, worrying about health care. Your struggles are like complaining because your diamond-encrusted tiara doesn't fit right." The studio erupted into laughter. Even the crew couldn't hold back. Harry's composed exterior began to crack just slightly, revealing the human side beneath the royal veneer. He took another breath and leaned forward. "I didn't come here to be mocked. I came here to discuss serious issues, mental health, philanthropy, social impact. These are things I care deeply about. Stern wasn't done. Serious issues. He scoffed. You want people to take you seriously while waving around your title and complaining about the press. I'm just saying, if you were a regular guy, nobody would blink an eye. But you're Prince Harry. You've got a name, a platform, and a story that sells books. And now you act like people should sympathize with you for it. Come on. The tension in the studio reached a new height. Stern's listeners loved every second. Social media was already buzzing with clips from the live feed. Stern leaning back, shaking his head, laughter punctuating his words, Harry maintaining composure while occasionally raising an eyebrow or exhaling sharply. But Harry was not one to back down. Howard, I understand your perspective. But perhaps you're missing the point. This isn't about sympathy. This is about accountability, about showing the world that even those born into privilege face personal struggles. And it's about trying to create change, to do something meaningful with the platform I've been given. Stern chuckled, leaning back, steepling his fingers. Accountability. You left your family, abandoned your royal duties, and moved across the Atlantic. You call that accountability? That's running away. That's trying to escape the responsibilities everyone else in your position takes seriously. Harry's expression tightened. I wouldn't call it running away. I'd call it making choices to protect my family and my well-being. There are consequences to every decision, and I'm willing to face them. Stern's response was instantaneous, sharp, and merciless. Consequences. Prince, the worst consequence you've faced is a bad headline. That's it. No one's cutting off your inheritance, no one's arresting you for taxes, and yet you sit here acting like the world is against you. That's comedy gold. By this point, social media had exploded. Clips from the argument were circulating on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Fans of Stern hailed him as fearless, unapologetic, and brutally honest. Royal commentators debated whether Harry's calm response was dignified or weak. Memes popped up within minutes, comparing Stern to a lion tearing into a carefully groomed deer. Harry, recognizing the spectacle, tried to redirect the conversation. Howard, I appreciate your passion. But perhaps instead of mocking, you could ask questions that help the public understand the pressures I've faced and the causes I care about. Stern, grinning now, looked directly into the camera. Here's the thing, Harry. The public doesn't want a sob story. They want honesty, and they want reality. And when you sit there in your fancy suit, telling me you're struggling with life under scrutiny, I'm sorry, it's hard not to laugh. The audience laughed along, some nervously, some raucously. Stern's energy was intoxicating, commanding, and relentless. Harry's measured calm stood in stark contrast to Stern's wild, untamed presence. And in that clash, the raw, unfiltered confrontation between celebrity and royalty, humor and solemnity, audacity and decorum, something remarkable happened. It wasn't just an argument, it was a performance, a spectacle, and a reflection of modern fame. Stern mocked. Harry defended. The world watched. And no one left the conversation unchanged. As the segment ended, Stern leaned back one last time, a self-satisfied smirk playing across his face. Well, that was fun. Prince Harry, ladies and gentlemen. He's got a story, he's got a book, and apparently, he's got a sense of humor about it. Or maybe he doesn't. Harry stood, nodded politely, and left the studio with measured dignity, aware that the morning's debate would be dissected endlessly online, on TV panels, and in countless op-eds. He knew that Stern had won this round in the court of public spectacle, but perhaps the real battle was only beginning. Outside the studio, journalists were already lining up with cameras and microphones, eager to capture Harry's first words after the live broadcast. Social media buzzed with reactions. Memes, clips, and hot takes spread like wildfire. Stern's mocking laughter echoed far beyond the walls of SiriusXM, reaching millions of viewers who debated fiercely, was Howard Stern right to mock a prince, or was he crossing a line? For Harry, it was a reminder that no matter where he went, no matter how far he tried to distance himself from royalty, the world would never let him walk quietly. Stern had reminded everyone of one indisputable truth: fame, whether inherited or earned, comes with scrutiny, and sometimes, the mockery is unavoidable. And that, more than anything, made the morning unforgettable. By the afternoon, the storm Howard Stern had unleashed showed no signs of slowing. Clips of the interview had gone viral within minutes, trending across multiple platforms. Memes depicting Prince Harry flinching at Stern's sarcasm were already circulating. Hashtags like #PrinceVStern and #RoyalRoast dominated Twitter, and TikTok users were splicing together every sharp exchange with humorous commentary. Inside the palace, or at least within Harry's remaining circle of royal confidants, the reaction was tense. Advisors debated whether his composure on live radio had been admirable or if Stern had succeeded in undermining him publicly. Some argued that Harry had handled the mockery with restraint, showing patience and diplomacy. Others, less sympathetic, pointed out that Stern's relentless jabs made him look almost small. Meanwhile, Stern's office was buzzing with energy. Producers replayed the segment repeatedly, laughing at the prince's carefully measured responses, dissecting the moments that would dominate headlines. "He's a prince who gets mocked by a shock jock," one assistant said, barely containing laughter. "I don't think anyone saw that coming." Stern, for his part, was already thinking ahead, imagining the sound bites that would define the next week's show. But social media wasn't content with just clips. Opinion pieces sprang up across the internet. Some criticized Stern for being cruel, mocking a man whose struggles were very real. Others defended him, claiming that the public had a right to hold celebrities, and royals, to the same standards. Podcasts dissected Harry's tone, his choice of words, even his body language. Memes ranged from humorous exaggerations to savage caricatures, showing Stern looming over a tiny, bewildered Harry. The backlash didn't stop there. Evening talk shows picked up the story, replaying key moments and debating the ethics of Stern's mockery. News anchors speculated on whether Harry would issue a statement or whether he would double down on his public appearances. PR experts weighed in, suggesting that Harry's calm responses were calculated, aimed at demonstrating emotional maturity under pressure. But for many viewers, the spectacle itself was enough to overshadow the message. Across the Atlantic, tabloids in the UK had a field day. Headlines screamed, "Shock jock humiliates Prince Harry on American radio," and "Royal roast, Howard Stern leaves Duke speechless." Royal commentators dissected every nuance, questioning whether Harry had underestimated Stern's aggressive style. Analysts debated whether this confrontation would affect his public image or if it would fade into the endless churn of celebrity news. Yet Harry's reaction was far from predictable. Instead of retreating, he took a strategic approach. That evening, he released a carefully worded statement across social media. "I respect Howard Stern's right to challenge me and his audience's right to enjoy a debate. However, it is important to remember the context behind my decisions and the issues I am committed to. My aim remains to raise awareness about mental health, family well-being, and social responsibility. Conversations about privilege are necessary, but they should be grounded in understanding and empathy." The statement immediately generated a new wave of attention. Analysts praised him for professionalism, while fans lauded his ability to remain composed. At the same time, Stern's audience continued to fuel the debate, mocking the statement as carefully scripted royal speak. Memes emerged showing Harry holding a mental health awareness pamphlet while Stern laughed uncontrollably in the background. Then, an unexpected twist added fuel to the fire. A leaked behind-the-scenes clip surfaced, showing Stern pacing before the interview, muttering to himself about whether he could push Harry far enough without causing a diplomatic incident. The clip, quickly labeled #SternPrepChaos, went viral, showing the shock jock's meticulous planning behind his wild persona. Even more surprising, Harry's publicists reportedly contacted Stern's team privately, suggesting a follow-up discussion, on record this time, to clarify misunderstandings and highlight the causes Harry cared about. Stern's response was characteristically blunt. "I don't clarify anything. People can hear the truth, or they can hear the sob story. That's their choice." Despite the initial clash, something remarkable happened in the days that followed. Stern's mocking tone had inadvertently increased public awareness about the very issues Harry wanted to highlight. Mental health charities and family advocacy organizations reported spikes in donations and inquiries. Social media, which had initially been filled with jokes and memes, began to feature discussions about the pressures of royal life, mental health, and personal responsibility. Stern, ever the provocateur, had unintentionally amplified Harry's message. Meanwhile, Harry adapted his strategy. He gave interviews to respected journalists, focusing less on defending himself and more on emphasizing his causes. He participated in charity events, spoke at conferences, and used his platform to advocate for mental health support for veterans, children, and families under stress. Each appearance carried the echoes of the Stern confrontation, and each time, he managed to walk the delicate line between public scrutiny and personal advocacy. The media frenzy also produced unexpected allies. Celebrities who had been vocal critics of Stern's shock jock tactics praised Harry for his poise. Analysts noted that the prince's ability to remain calm under ridicule strengthened his credibility. Stern, meanwhile, enjoyed the chaos from afar, reveling in the public spectacle he had created, knowing that he had sparked one of the most talked about confrontations of the year. Weeks later, the dust had not entirely settled. Late-night talk shows continued to reference the argument, comedians incorporated the mockery into routines, and social media memes remained a constant reminder of the day Howard Stern mocked a prince. Harry, for his part, had grown more confident in navigating public scrutiny, while Stern's reputation as a fearless interviewer was only reinforced. In retrospect, what began as a sharp, mocking exchange evolved into a complex story about fame, responsibility, and the unpredictable power of media. Stern had attacked Harry, challenging him to defend himself. Harry, in turn, had turned the confrontation into an opportunity, managing to direct attention toward meaningful causes without losing his composure. By the time the controversy finally began to fade from headlines, one thing was clear: the clash between Howard Stern and Prince Harry had become more than just a viral spectacle. It had transformed into a case study on the collision of media, monarchy, and modern celebrity, a reminder that in today's world, public figures can never entirely escape scrutiny, but with strategy and resilience, they can use it to their advantage. And somewhere in New York, Stern leaned back in his chair, chuckled, and muttered, "Well, that was fun. Maybe next time, I'll try mocking a billionaire or two." The world, still buzzing with debate, could only watch and wonder who would be next under Stern's unrelenting spotlight.